USMCA, of course, is a trading agreement between our two of our best friends in the trade world, Mexico and Canada. So the signing of the USMCA is it really puts into place a solid relationship, re-solidifies that relationship, recommits our commitment to North American economy. And that's critically important for our members because we have members that operate across all three countries, but more importantly, many of the members we have export to both Canada and Mexico or import feed ingredients from both countries. So having that be a stable relationship is very, very important to us. The other thing it does is it modernizes, the agreement. So the original NAFTA, of course, being 25 plus years old, it was written at a time where we didn't have some of the same types of challenges we do in trade. So having that updated is a huge advantage, particularly with the focus on sanitary and phytosanitary issues in particular. We're very excited about that. We're still catching our breath from the first round, and the first round was very good for the feed industry. It addressed some of our major issues. One was the registration of beef facilities. So we were unable to actually get new facilities approved to export to China. So that really constrained trade for our sector. And then of course the bans on ruminant and poultry was a big negative for our ability to export anything that contains ruminant or poultry ingredients, particularly pet food, as you know. So those changes mean a lot for us. Right now, we're focusing on implementation. So there's a lot of things now that the agreement's been made that have to happen both within the US regulatory system as well as the Chinese regulatory system in order for those changes to really have an impact on actual trade. So that's our big, strong focus. There's a little bit of confusion right now of what the agreement does with pet food. So we're looking for maybe a little bit more clarity there. So there may potentially be some more advances we can make in the relationship in trade of pet food ingredients. But right now we're really focused on making sure that FDA is fully prepared to help implement that agreement, that our folks are lined up to be able to get those facilities registered, and we can start actually exporting more product to China. So this year is going to be very interesting as we see more and more trade agreements being negotiated. There's a lot of attention that we need to pay to those discussions, as well as the continued tariffs will continue to be a challenge for the industry, particularly for ingredients that we import for feed production, but then also, of course, our exports being constrained. So looking at the tariffs that are being placed between the US and the EU, between the US and China, will take up a lot of time for us. Some of the other areas, every time I go out and talk to members, we talk about labor and we talk about human resources and the ability to find the skill level that's required, whether it is entry level kinds of positions or PhD candidates. It's been a challenge to find the type of human resources that we need to really move the industry forward. Many opportunities. So I mentioned maybe a challenge being the trade agreements, but what a huge opportunity for the feed industry. Right now, we've just received word that Secretary Perdue has drawn a firm line in the sand on SPS issues with the European Union, as well as chicken imports. So we know that there's going to be a lot of conversation happening. Now, the fact that the administration did partial agreements with Japan and with China signal to us that we can look for more partial agreements, and I think that's how we're going to be able to make some progress with the European Union. So we're looking very closely to see how those talks progress, how we as the feed industry can engage in those first initial conversations with the EU and see if we can have some progress there. We also have the UK, and so of course with Brexit, which is going to create a lot of turmoil for them, there's also opportunity for us as well. And then, of course, the implementation of China. Really, our first opportunity to get into that market in a big way with some of our facilities will be huge. And then let's take a step back and look at the domestic picture. We've got a lot of opportunities with the implementation of FSMA. We have plants that have really stepped forward and demonstrated that they can be in compliance with FSMA, and I think that's a story that we're going to be talking about quite a bit. And then regulatory. FDA received additional funding for feed ingredient approval, and so we're really excited about the opportunity to have more talented staff and come on board at FDA to look at those dossiers and get some review of feed ingredients for the market.